With all forms of fishing, choosing the right rig for the circumstances that present themselves is often the key to catching fish or otherwise. Today, Mother Nature's dealt us a pretty ordinary blow. We've got a lot of wind outside, we've got a lot of rain. We're obviously not going to be able to go fishing, so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to practice tying some rigs. Really good idea for you to get into the habit of pre-tying your rigs at home. When you get them out on the water, you're going to be confident that the knots are good and you've tied them in the correct manner. We're going to go through 5 different rigs that are very applicable to a wide range of estuary fishing situations. For demonstration purposes, obviously, we're going to use cord instead of monofilament, but these rigs all will suit a wide range of monofilament lines or braided line situations. So just bear with us where we use the cord. You'll be able to see exactly what we're trying to demonstrate for you. The first rig we're going to look at is one of the most simple and yet underutilised rigs in fishing. It's just called an unweighted rig, and it's just a hook that's attached to the end of the main line. Your choice of hook just is determined by the size and the type of bait that you're going to use. Very good for getting a really natural presentation. There's no weight to alter the drift rate of the bait, so very good for finicky fish, the unweighted rig. Sometimes, however, an unweighted bait is not going to let you get your bait to where the fish are. So we're going to introduce a little bit of weight. All I've got is a tiny little sinker here that I'm going to attach to the end of the line. For demonstration purposes, this is obviously oversized. For most of these presentations, your sinker size is going to be tiny, a 00 up to maybe a size 1. It's just tied onto the main line, it slides up and down, and that's going to allow me to cast it a little bit further if I can't reach the fish, or if I'm having trouble sinking the bait down to where the fish are because there's a bit of tide or a bit of current. That rig is ideal for that situation. Very simple, very effective. Next rig is probably the most universal rig you'll find in fishing. This is called the running sinker rig. Basically, we've got a hook attached to a length of trace, down to a swivel, and then we have a sinker that's just going to slide up and down our main line. The reason we do this is sometimes we might want to actually add a bit of heavy or even lighter line between our main line and our hook. Heavier line for fish like flathead that have got teeth and we want to protect our trace from abrasion. Or sometimes if you're fishing light and you want to have a breakaway rig, so if your hook gets snagged, you're going to break it off and not lose your whole rig. The running sinker rig, very effective. This longer trace is deliberate. Don't be afraid to go with the longer traces either, because these longer traces in a current, they're going to waft around, your bait's going to look nice and presentable, and when a fish picks it up, it's going to grab it and it's going to have all of this slack line to move away before it actually feels any resistance. But also, because we have the sinker as a running rig, it can move away with that bait without feeling the resistance of the sinker. This is a universally popular rig, very effective, and an excellent running ball sinker rig. Just going to go up to something a little bit more advanced now. We're going to go into what's called a Paternoster rig, and this is a fixed sinker rig where our sinker is actually fixed to our main line, and the key to this rig is this 3-way swivel. The yellow line goes down to the hook, that's our hook trace, and we can make that at varying different breaking strains, obviously using it heavier if we're fishing for fish that have teeth. And then our sinker dropper can actually be heavier or lighter depending what you want to do. If you're fishing somewhere where snags are going to be prevalent, then you can use a light breakaway sinker, and that line here will break in the event that you get snagged, and then our main line just attaches to the top. It's the fixed Paternoster rig. The sinker will sit on the bottom and your bait will sit up above the bottom, drifting around enticingly. Keeps your hook away from the snags, keeps your bait down on the bottom where a lot of fish are feeding. Now we're going to trick it up a little bit. We're going to go with a rig that's a little bit advanced. It's called the running Paternoster rig. Very popular for people who are fishing with live baits or any bait situation where you want the fish to pick up your bait and move away with it, but you want to keep your bait down on the bottom. What we've got here is, again, we've got our hook, we've got our trace. The trace is chosen depending on the sort of fish that you're fishing for. We're going to run it down to a swivel, and then our main line is tied above it. But onto the main line, we're going to attach another swivel, just free flowing, so that can slide back and forth. And on that, we have our sinker dropper. The sinker dropper just holds the bait on the bottom. The rig can waft around, but when a fish actually takes that bait, you can free spool it out, and that rig will just run off the fish. You can feed the bait to the fish, and then when you're ready to strike, put it in gear and start cranking like crazy. Very simple to use. All of these rigs are just tied with any of your basic knots. You can use a locked half blood knot or a uni knot. That's the same knot that I've used in all of these connections. And there's 5 very effective rigs that'll get you through just about any estuary fishing situation.